You do not need to narrate your life to everyone who raises an eyebrow. You do not need to turn every decision into a courtroom defense. In this episode, we are going to cut through that reflex and learn how to speak with quiet authority, how to answer clearly, honestly, and without handing your dignity to the loudest room. Rule 1. Explain only what duty requires. Panaetius, as his teaching is remembered through later writers, is useful here because he thought carefully about roles, conduct, and what we owe in public life. That matters because not every request for an explanation is a real duty. Some are simple logistics, some are genuine responsibilities, and some are pressure in a polite costume. Look at the modern scene. A manager wants a fast answer in a late email. A relative asks why you did not attend. A friend pushes for details you already gave once. Your phone lights up, and suddenly you feel as if silence itself has become suspicious. That is the moment many people start over-explaining. They add context, then more context, then apologies that were never needed, until the message is no longer clear at all. A Stoic answer is not evasive. It is proportionate. If the question belongs to your duty, answer it. If the correction is needed, make it. If someone truly needs to understand your decision because of shared work, shared trust, or shared responsibility, then speak plainly. But do not confuse a responsible explanation with a plea for approval. Picture a Citadel gate in the rain. The gate opens because it must. It does not beg to be believed. That is the standard. Open when duty requires. Stay closed when only insecurity is knocking. A clear answer can be short. A boundary can be calm. And neither needs decoration to be strong. Keep that image. The gate opens on command, not on panic. Rule 2. Do not argue with resistance. Epictetus is the clearest guide here because his teaching keeps bringing us back to agency. You control what you choose, what you say, and how you meet the moment. You do not control whether another person understands you fairly, and once you realize that, a huge amount of wasted energy falls away. Think of the common trap. You send a simple message. You cannot make the dinner. You need a quiet night. You are changing a plan. You are holding a boundary. The reply comes back cold, wounded, or accusatory. Suddenly you feel the pressure to build a full legal brief for your ordinary life. You start explaining where you were, why you are tired, why you changed your mind, why they should not be upset, why this is not personal, why you still care. One message becomes 5, 5 becomes 10, and still the other person may not accept it. A Stoic does not confuse misunderstanding with a duty to persuade. If someone is sincerely open, then explain. If they are confused, clarify. But if they are already leaning into resistance, your extra words may not serve truth. They may only feed the habit of asking for more. At that point, the task is not to win a verdict. The task is to remain accurate, calm, and firm. In a crowded office, this can mean saying, "I've answered the question." In a relationship, it can mean, "I understand you disagree, but my decision remains." In a family conflict, it can mean stating the boundary once and not performing anxiety for the room. The image to keep is simple. A man standing in wind with a torch. The wind can lean against him. It cannot make him become wind. Misunderstanding may surround you, but it does not govern you unless you invite it inside. Rule 3. Pause before you defend yourself. Most over-explaining begins before the words even leave your mouth. It begins in the body. The jaw tightens, the chest rises. The mind hears an accusation and starts drafting a speech in real time. That is why the pause matters. It interrupts the reflex. Musonius Rufus is especially helpful here because his teaching, as reported by others, leans hard toward training and practice rather than performance. He values discipline that shows up in ordinary moments, and this is an ordinary moment. Someone presses you, a comment lands sideways, a colleague implies you were careless, a friend questions your motives. Your first impulse is to clear your name immediately, but a hurried defense often gives the accusation more authority than it deserves. Pause. Breathe once. Let the face settle. Ask a simple inner question. Is this something I must answer now? Or is this something I can answer clearly after the surge passes? That pause is not weakness. It is a guard at the inner door. Picture a gym locker room after a harsh exchange. The noise is still in the air. A phone buzzes. Your hand wants to type, delete, retype, explain, soften, apologize, add context, then defend the original point again. Instead, put the phone down. Sit. Let the heat leave the room before you write. This is one of the great disciplines of quiet authority. Your first reaction is not your final statement. Remember the image of the bronze shield cooling after battle. You do not need to swing it at every shadow. Hold it steady, breathe, then speak only if speech is still useful. Rule 4. Correct the false, then release it. There is a difference between over-explaining and honest correction. Stoicism does not ask you to let falsehoods spread when duty requires a response. If a statement is wrong, if a report misrepresents your work, if a necessary fact has been distorted, then you may have a responsibility to clarify it. But after the correction is made, you do not need to chain yourself to the outcome. This is where many people become trapped. They think if they keep talking long enough, they can force understanding into place. They cannot. Once the correction is clear, the rest belongs to the listener. Their acceptance, their delay, their silence, their stubbornness, those are not yours to govern. Epictetus would keep us simple here. Attend to what is yours. You can state the fact, you can name the error, you can present the truth once, plainly, without heat. Then you step back. If you keep circling the issue, you may be trying to purchase peace with extra words. Peace does not sell that cheaply. Imagine a white office board with a wrong number written in marker. You cross it out, replace it, and move on. You do not stand in front of the board for the rest of the day, begging everyone to admire your handwriting. The point was the truth, not the performance. This rule protects both honesty and dignity. It keeps you from becoming passive, and it keeps you from becoming obsessive. Correction is a duty when required. Obsession is a burden you add yourself. Keep the phrase close. Correct it once, then let truth do its work. A straight line does not need to shout that it is straight. Rule 5. Let conduct speak before explanation. Musonius Rufus, in the practical spirit of his surviving reports, would recognize the force of repeated action. Character becomes visible through what you consistently do, not through a polished self-description, not through a perfect message, not through telling people who you are while your habits tell a different story. This matters because some people explain themselves so much that they stop building trust. They describe their standards, their intentions, their boundaries, their values, their growth, yet the room still waits for evidence. A calm pattern of conduct is stronger than a speech about integrity. At work, this can mean showing up on time, delivering what you promised, and leaving no confusion about your role. In friendship, it can mean reliability without dramatic promises. In family life, it can mean changing your behavior where change is needed, instead of writing a long defense about how misunderstood you are. Action has weight, words only borrow it. There is also a hidden relief here. When conduct is steady, you do not have to spend so much time managing impressions. The body relaxes, the mind clears. You are no longer begging to be believed every hour because your life is already giving the answer. Picture a bronze statue at the edge of a courtyard while clouds move overhead. The statue does not chase applause, it stands because it was made to stand. That is the lesson. Build such consistency that your explanation becomes shorter, because your life is already saying the necessary thing. Quiet authority is not a tone. Rule 6. Use fewer words when the boundary is real. A true boundary does not need a speech to exist. It needs clarity, consistency, and follow-through. People often believe they must keep explaining the same limit because others keep pushing against it. But repetition without action can teach the wrong lesson. It can invite negotiation where none is due. Panaetius is useful again as a guide to appropriate conduct. Different situations require different forms of speech. A duty-based explanation is not the same as a soft request for permission. If you have already made the limit clear, then more words may only blur the edge. A clean statement can be enough. I am not available. I cannot help with that. I will not discuss this further. Those are not insults. They are structure. Now look at the modern pressure point. The text thread keeps going. The call keeps ringing. The coworker keeps probing. The family member keeps asking for details you have chosen not to share. Every extra sentence feels like it should make you kinder, but often it only makes you more available to pressure. A boundary is like a door in a stone wall. The door is not cruel because it closes. It is meaningful because it opens for the right reasons. If you keep standing there explaining the engineering of the hinge, you are no longer holding the boundary. You are performing around it. The image to hold is an iron key turning once, not 100 times, once. Then the room is clear. Say less when the line is real. The strength is not in the volume. It is in the fact that you mean it. Rule 7. Do not confess for comfort. Some explanations are not about truth, they are about relief. You feel tension, so you try to unload it by saying more. You want the discomfort of being misunderstood to disappear immediately, so you overshare, over-justify, and over-apologize. The other person may not even be asking for that much, yet you hand it over because anxiety wants instant discharge. Epictetus helps us see the trap. If your peace depends on the other person approving your story, then your story is already in chains. A Stoic does not deny responsibility. If you were wrong, own it. If you owe an apology, give it. If you need to repair something, repair it. But do not turn every uncomfortable moment into a performance of guilt. That is not virtue. That is fear in formal clothing. Imagine a late-night city street, wet pavement reflecting red brake lights, your phone in your hand after a tense exchange. You are tempted to send the long message, the one that explains everything and pleads to be seen correctly. Instead, ask a harder question. Am I correcting the record, or am I trying to soothe my own alarm by making someone else responsible for my nervous system? That question can save you from many unnecessary messages. There is a quiet dignity in saying, I have said what needs saying, not because you are above the situation, but because you refuse to beg your way out of tension. Calm is not the absence of pressure. It is the refusal to panic into a confession that serves no real purpose. Keep the phrase, no anxious self-defense. Truth first, relief later. Rule 8. Accept correction without collapsing. Quiet authority is not stubbornness. It is not the refusal to hear anything uncomfortable. If you are wrong, you should be able to say so without turning the moment into an identity crisis. This is one of the most important disciplines in the whole lesson. The goal is not to become unteachable. The goal is to become unshaken by the need to look perfect. Panaetius, with his concern for proper conduct and duty, helps here because a responsible person does not cling to pride when the facts are clear. If correction is deserved, receive it. If you made a mistake, acknowledge it. If an apology is due, give a real one. But then stop performing shame. You are not required to shatter yourself to prove sincerity. Many people over-explain because they fear correction will strip them of worth. So they rush to defend before they can even consider the evidence. But a grounded mind can hear a hard truth, check it, and respond without drama. That is strength, not rigidity, not image management, strength. Picture a marble figure in a quiet room while a candle burns beside it. Wind shakes the window, the flame leans, but it does not vanish. That is the posture. You can be corrected and still remain upright. You can admit fault and still preserve dignity. In fact, dignity often grows when you stop treating every flaw as a disaster. The rule is simple. Be accountable without becoming fragile. Receive what is true. Release what is theatrical. And let your next action confirm that you meant what you said. Rule 9. Let silence serve truth, not ego. This is the final distinction, and it matters. Quiet authority is not the same as stonewalling. Silence can become manipulation if it is used to punish, confuse, or withhold care. That is not what we are building here. Stoic calm is accountable. It is measured. It does not vanish from responsibility just because it has learned not to panic. So what should silence do? It should create space for right judgment. It should prevent unnecessary heat. It should stop you from feeding arguments that have already lost honesty. Sometimes the most honest thing you can say is nothing more than, I will think about it, or I have answered this already, and then let the matter rest. Musonius Rufus would likely respect that kind of disciplined simplicity. Epictetus would remind us that you are not responsible for every mind that wants to pull you into its storm. Panaetius would keep us near duty, reminding us that if a true explanation is owed, we give it. But if silence is only protecting pride, then it is no longer wisdom. It is hiding. The viewer should carry this final image: an empty street at dawn, a citadel standing above it, gates open where they must be open, closed where they must be closed, no pleading, no theatrics, just order. That is the lesson of quiet authority. Speak when duty calls, correct what is false, refuse anxious self-defense, and let your life become so steady that you no longer need to ask permission to stand inside it. If this lesson helped you, like the video, subscribe to the Inner Citadel, and comment with the situation you want handled with Stoic calm.